This is the first day of the rest of your life. And it's also the first episode of my new exciting and fascinating series called Useful Tips. Useful Tips. Or, if you're from across the pond, hacks. I think hacks means the same as tips if you're speaking informally. And so what we're going to be talking about here in this first episode is how to win friends and influence people. And this was a book by that title which came out, I think, in 1936, written by Dale Carnegie. I think it's probably one of the best selling books of all time. However, in 1981, a revised version was published, and this was exciting. It drew a lot of attention because of the nature of the title. And at that point I was living in Raeburn Place in Edinburgh. And Raeburn Place is every second or alternate shop is a bookshop, and the other alternative one is a coffee shop. So if you wander along Raeburn Place and look to your left or right, you're going to be seeing either a bookshop or a coffee shop. So in 1981, I walked into a bookshop, a small independent bookshop. They actually had them in those days. And later on, about 10 years later, I actually supplied this very same bookshop with a fantastic set of greeting cards depicting beautiful artwork. But that was quite a bit in the future. But at this time, they had in the window, we have the new revised book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this was going to market it to a new audience. So I was in this small shop, and there was 3 young women, friends, and they were about 20, and there was an older woman, and the older woman was about 40, and she looked dowdy. She had dark, straight hair and was wearing bland clothing, and she was on her own, and she looked unhappy. The 3 young women, on the other hand, were joking and laughing with each other and chit-chatting away in a garrulous and gregarious manner, and smiling away, but speaking respectfully in quiet voices. And they were kind of egging each other on, and one, the woman who was dowdy was frowning upon them as if to say, show some respect, this is a bookshop, and act with some decorum. And this was, there was quite a difference in the personalities of the young women and the older women. And they had an advert saying, available now, the new version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so the leader, or the most popular of the three popular young ladies, was kind of pushed forward to see and to ask for a copy of this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the new version, revised, updated, and no longer old-fashioned 1936 style, but new 1981 style. So the girl went up to the man behind the counter, the bookshop owner, and she was a bit sheepish looking, a bit embarrassed, and she said, "I'd like a copy, please, of How to Win Friends and Influence People," with her friends looking at her and tittering away in the background. And the man said politely, "I'm sorry, madam, but it's out of stock. Very popular, and I don't have any copies left." Oh, disappointed face. So she said, okay, went back to her friends, and there's none left. And this dowdy woman, the dour or dour woman, depending on whether you're from England or Scotland, she suspected something was amiss here. So she walked up to the counter a short time after, and in a self-important and pretentious manner, which wasn't uncommon with everyday people in those days in Edinburgh, she said, "I'd like a copy, please, of How to Win Friends and Influence People." And the bookshop owner said, "Certainly, madam, I've got one here." And he produced a copy of the book, wrapped it up, and handed it over, and run it through the till. And then the dowdy woman walked out and was scowling at the young ladies as she walked out, clutching her book. So, being cheeky and bold and confident, the young lady who had asked for the book and was told it was sold out, went back up to the counter and said to the bookshop owner, "Well, you just sold a copy of that book, and you told me that there was none left." And the bookshop owner looked apologetic. He said, "I know, I'm sorry, madam, but I kept that one back for someone who I felt needed it more."